Alright, it's bootleg time. Well, at the time I didn't think it would be bootleg time. It was only upon editing this video that I think I've become aware. I have a package here which I bought some time ago, so long ago now, that this filming space is completely different. This was filmed back in July last year according to my footage dates. It's one of the NECA Assassin's Creed figures of Ezio, released way back when the games were still yearly and beloved by the masses. This popped up online for around the price of about $45 to $50 NZD. The last time I checked, modern NECA toys will set you back about $80 NZD, so to have the older toys available now for the older prices seemed very exciting. This is another wider collection video because I do have some others from this toy line that I've collected over the years. This here is Altair from the past and Ezio from the future, the main protagonists of the mainstream entries here. At least that was the case back in the day for me when I was still playing these things. I also bought this on the chance that it might have been a knockoff because I've been very curious about NECA bootlegs. I've heard many say that the quality in hands is almost the same, but it's the paint that's really rough. And here I was looking for the credits of NECA because it was my belief that the knockoffs can't have the original brand name on them. Like fake Lego doesn't say Lego, and that was literally my only frame of reference for that matter. And maybe action figures are different because NECA does appear on this box there. As stated earlier, this is a knockoff of Ezio. The Altair and older Ezio are genuine figures though, but this guy might not be. I watched the video and I compared the two and he looks to be a fake to me. So I'm very curious to compare these figures and take a look at that theme, a very heavily criticized release from NECA. And the reasons for the criticisms all come under that quality control. These toys are hardly toys. They're very stiff with their movements and incredibly easy to damage and break. I have even accidentally, of course, broken a NECA toy on this very channel. Very tragic stuff indeed. I'll cover the Altair here first because I've seen a lot of people online say that the NECA Assassin's Creed line is garbage and they usually use this guy specifically to help illustrate their point. I have to say, I quite like him. You see, I've mentioned on this channel before that these sort of adult collector toys based on games and movies from, say, NECA or McFarlane, they weren't really sold in stores here, they were hobby store releases, and so nerd and geek culture enthusiasts here in NZ would go and buy these overseas and then flip them online or at conventions and stuff. They were very hard to just find originally. So me having anything like this when I was a kid felt like the holy grail. I basically always viewed these as statue-like display pieces. I'd be very careful not to trash these around the place like I was doing with my Ninja Turtles and my Transformers. I love the detail this guy has on him. These assassin robes are a personal favorite of mine. The first game is pretty rough around the edges, I understand that, but I've always had a soft spot for that entry in the series. His face likeness does seem off though. The characters were always meant to kind of resemble Desmond, but this feels way too different to me. Like his flesh tone and facial hair look completely different, but maybe I'm misremembering. The criticisms here come with the movements. I'm being very careful here when I move this guy for fear of damaging him. Again, I had my Kratos break on camera, so I've been hesitant about grabbing my NECA toys ever since. He's got access to things like bends and rotates and everything, but man, it's all just very minimal. You want to be careful with this thing though, the old toys are super fragile. But for his accessories, he's the one figure here who really does come packing with additional items. He's got these little daggers there and all of them are individual pieces that can be removed and kind of displayed in his hand. They just sit there and me moving his arm there shows that the knife will fall through easily. He has this really cool fancy molded sword on his back. It's about half the size of your standard sword. The sword does fit in his hand there, but out of fear of breaking it, I found the best way to make him hold it is by sliding the blade up first and then he can just reach the handle. And I like it a lot because of how different it is to the other sword he has, which is already in his scabbard there. This one's a bit weirder to bring out because his arm is in the way there, so I need to make some proper adjustments here to get it to work. And the sword's design here is very cool, but again, I've heard that this is also a fragile piece. It's not too bad getting him to hold this one though, the piece fits in his hand quite nicely, but because of how staticky the toy is, this here is the type of display pose that you're going to get, it's not too exciting. The last weapon here of course is the hidden blade inclusion, which is already attached to the toy figure. There's a little lever that you can use that helps extend the blade and slides it back away. A very cool detail here is that one of his fingers is also missing from his hand. He also included an additional hand there that's just like a simple resting gesture. It looks like it would be used for the hidden blade, but it's only for his right hand. And then here we have the man of the hour. This here is Ezio from the second game. So this on screen is what the toy is meant to look like, the official NECA release. I felt that the knockoff does a pretty close job with everything as far as I can tell, except for his arms. The arms appear to be the very obvious giveaway. This knockoff here kind of looks like if the real thing just went through degradation with age or something. All the colors here are slightly off, but in hand I have to say that this toy does match the quality of the Altair, so take that as you will. We have a face here that's a bit closer to resembling Desmond, but but the flesh tone looks ghastly. He looks like he's sick. For his movements there, they seem to have improved slightly. It's more visibly clear that he can do a lot more than the previous figure. He also has a hidden blade inclusion, but the blade doesn't feature a little switch like Altair's does. That's something that really bothers me. It feels significantly harder and more fragile to play with there. My guy here also has a weird thing going on where the legs, you can see there, I've tried to readjust those joints for some time now, but the best that I can get for the toy to actually stay standing is to have the legs look all bent and off kilter. He still has some really cool patterns and designs, but the colors of that pink stripe really throw things off for me here. This here's a quick comparison between the two. Now that they're out of the box and in person, these guys do look like different companies made them to me. But this all leads us to the last figure here, which is again another Ezio and another genuine NECA figure. Ezio was like the one character who got all the toys from this entire line. It's really ridiculous if you look up all of the NECA Assassin's Creed releases. There's just a ton of Ezio, and they're all the exact same toy too, just with different colors. This guy was the first one that I bought, and I really loved him when I was a kid. He was a later release as well, so he's got all kinds of crazy improvements there, movements in his arms and great details for patterns in his armor straps there. The paint and colors all look really good to me, and he feels really great in hand. His movements are stiff though, closer to Altair. It's all because of the armor that he's got with the clothing. Very minimal bends and rotates, and this stiff appearance make him way more of a display item and a do not touch kind of toy. But it's cool to have one with these crazy shoulder movements there. Nothing really going on for the legs though, but his redeeming quality compared to the last Ezio is that he actually does include some accessories. We have not just one hidden blade, but two, sort of. This one here is similar to the last one. It's a little tricky to extend out. The other blade though is his hook, which he uses to reach higher ledges, a very cool inclusion and very game specific. He then has this little tiny dagger which he can barely hold. It looks better just set away in his scabbard anyway. His sword is a very thin blade with a handle that kind of looks like a bow tie at the end. It's very easy to have him hold this one. You just slide that blade through his hand like we did earlier. And lastly, he features a crossbow which can fit in his hidden blade hand. And the blade is in the way, so you need to be a bit careful moving it around, but ultimately he looks like this. The trio is very nice for the time, and they're toys that I really appreciate for my gaming display. Now some years later we did have these McFarlane releases, which I just wanted to very quickly cover. They're not toys that I think are amazing or anything, but I bought them on deep sales back when I was younger and still a diehard fan of the series. These were the new era of Assassin's Creed figures. The scale here was smaller, and they did make toys for the main guys, but like I said, at the time I just decided to get the next gen figures. The blades there all have little clips in them, and that's how they attach to the wrists of the toys. You could swap them out for different variants, so I have Arno here with the crossbow one. I liked the little accessories for the toys there, but they just felt kinda off to me, more so than those NECA ones did. Jacob Fry was a purchase I made on a whim while shopping at EB Games in Australia, the lesser of the Fry siblings too, and I don't think McFarlane ever made an Eevee figure. You get the gist of these guys. The accessories made for a pretty good excuse to buy them at the time. He's got pistols with some clips in them so that he can have them on his person. His cane here features blades at both ends, one of them is hidden. He's also got a removable hat accessory. Something I didn't like is that the hands do have clips in them and that the weapons there have holes in them. It works for your display I guess, but I just don't like that aesthetic for some toys. I think what ultimately hurts the McFarlane theme there is the scale. Why they weren't to the same scale with the previous NECA ones will always confuse me, but maybe someone can fill me in there. It's an interesting toy line all in all. I've covered NECA game figures before here on this channel, and they all feel very familiar with their pros and their cons. The toys always feature some great details like the costuming translation, and the accessories are usually really fun too, but the stiff bodies and tough movements make them very fragile toys, and the NECA line are prone to breaking very easily. These guys here have been sitting on my shelves representing a very famous uber successful series in gaming for years now, and I'm very nostalgic for this era of video game toys, so I still have some love for these guys. But the point of this video was a quality test of a bootleg and to compare it to the real deal, and honestly, I'm not too opposed to buying NECA bootlegs if this is what they can be like. The paint is very rough, obviously, but the toy does feel close to the others in almost every other way. I'm pretty surprised by this, so that's not too bad I must say.